Good afternoon, everybody. This is a live emergency briefing as we do have tornado warnings in eastern Tennessee. This one is just to the north of the Clark Range area in Tennessee, right along Highway 127. And this has been a pretty long-lived tornadic storm. Right now, that rotation is right over 127, just to the north of the Clark Range area right there, south of Grimsley as well. And you may notice that graphic, the thumb that I put on here, is that Tornado Alley is expected to awaken. Looks like Sunday, Tuesday, and Wednesday have big time tornado potential. So I'm going to be out there live storm chasing. Be sure to tune in. Check out my live streaming out there as I'm tracking down those tornadoes in the Dominator 4. I finally got the Dominator 4 back from the shop as well. Looking at the correlation coefficient, I'm not seeing any definitive tornado on the ground. So this is just a tornado warning with the potential of producing a tornado. It has had a relatively broad circulation during a majority of its life cycle. It did almost produce on the southwest side of Crossville area. So I'm going to show you this whole entire loop here, the 30 frame loop there. You can see it almost produced very close to the Crossville area. Had that very stout storm relative inflow zone up through the Bowman area all the way through Clark Range. Still has that decent storm relative inflow on approach to the Grimsley area. If you're in Grimsley, Tennessee, you want to be in your safe place. That's right along Highway 127, well to the north of the Crossville area up there. Definitely could be a dangerous tornadic storm that is going to be moving into your location any minute right now. So this is a dangerous tornado warning storm that is lifting off to the north, but look at it earlier near the Crossville area. Watch how it crossed just to the west of there, crossing I-40 between mile marker 214 and mile marker 221 there on Interstate 40. I never saw a debris signature for sure on this thing the whole entire time, and it still is definitely a blob here on radar. You can even try to take a look at the 3D radar here, unless it is just... Oh, there we go. Ooh, good heavens me. Go back to 2D. But anyway, echo tops are pretty high up for this storm as well. A pretty good idea to assess, a pretty good method of assessing a storm's relative health is to look at its echo tops, and this is how high it penetrates up into the troposphere. Usually what happens when I'm watching tornadic storms, there it is, there you can see it spike up just to the west of the Crossville area. Right there, you can see that bright red. That was when the mesocyclone was the strongest, and usually when an updraft is also rotating, it will penetrate a lot higher up into the atmosphere, and that's exactly what happened with this. You can see those echo tops spiking up right there in the western side of Crossville, and it does look like they are spiking up once again here as well on the latest couple scans right near the Grimsley area. So this is definitely a cyclic supercell. It's right on the northern edge. You've got a lot more convection here now to the southeast of it, but this supercell is on the northern edge of this. Still has unimpeded inflow from the easterly direction here, and as we said earlier in our live briefing, that really any supercell that's able to get sustained access to clean inflow off to the east is going to have tornado potential, and that's exactly what happened with this storm. It's been a very long track storm here near Crossville. It had the cleanest access to inflow. You could definitely start to see there's a lot more convection now on the south side of it that's trying to start to taint the inflow into the parent storm. That circulation right now is closing in on the Grimsley, Tennessee area, right along Highway 127, northeastern Tennessee, well to the east of the Cookeville area. And the main circulation is to the north of I-40. So here's the I-40 corridor here. So this circulation is to the north of the Clark Range area. We did have a tornado warning earlier as well up into Kentucky, but that storm has since weakened. This was further off to the north There's those dual storms up near the Stanford area, moving up near Danville. Those have since weakened actually below severe limits, so we don't even have a severe thunderstorm warning there. And I just saw this new warning pop up in Alabama, so it does look like we're getting some renewed convection out there across northern Alabama. Here's that new, or not new, excuse me, but it is a private radar site there in the Lawrenceburg, Tennessee area. You may remember when we were visiting that. This is that severe thunderstorm warning to the southwest of Florence, Alabama. Pretty big hail with this storm, as there is a decent elevated mix layer moving over top that heat and moisture at the low levels. So this is just to the north of Highway 72, and in fact, that hail core right now is right over Highway 72. Hail up to 1 inch in diameter anticipated with that storm. Not as much rotation down there further south. You're starting to lose some of those easterlies, the stronger easterly surface winds that are needed for these meridional storm motions to go tornadic. When you get a due south to north type storm motion, you really need a strong easterly low-level jet to get a favorable hodograph to get tornadoes. Whereas if you have a southwest to northeast moving storm motion, southwest to northeast oriented is more than sufficient. But here's that rotation just to the southwest of Grimsley area. And this is kind of a preceding upper level low, but the next system that's going to eject on Sunday across the southern plains, that's going to cause what the forecast models right now are showing a textbook dry line setup across the southern plains. And that does include central Oklahoma as well. Latest models are showing that dry line to mix the east to the I-35 corridor. Decent instability as well to the east of it. So I do think that there is a decent chance of tornadoes on Sunday now as well, in addition to Tuesday and Wednesday, when I also think that there are pretty substantial tornado potential. That's when the main storm system is going to eject. And it does look like a pretty textbook dry line setup coming in for the southern plains. The latest GFS, at least the 12Z GFS, is showing a dry line that pushes east to the I-35 corridor. You can see a triple point that sets up across northern Oklahoma there. Dry line extending south along the I-35 corridor. Cold front moving into western Oklahoma through the Texas Panhandle there on Sunday. A little bit of a nose of hot, dry conditions coming in into southwestern Oklahoma as well. But I do think that if the timing is right with this storm system, there is a chance that there could be tornadoes as well in Oklahoma on Sunday with the preceding system. And then a big-time storm system comes in right after that, and that's the graphic that you can see in the thumbnail here. That's when I anticipate Tornado Alley to really come alive on Tuesday and Wednesday. I think it's going to be a pretty substantial tornado setup. Looks like it could even be a 2-day tornado setup Tuesday, and then again on Wednesday as well, definitely. So let me show you the target area that I have lined up for Tuesday. Looks like it's going to be a panhandle type of an event out there. Panhandle, western Kansas, Texas Panhandle, Oklahoma Panhandle there as well. So that's where I think the setup's going to be with the main system, the kicker system back behind it. The preceding system has tornado potential on Sunday across central Oklahoma into southern Kansas. Then look at that bowling ball of an upper level storm system that comes in over the Four Corners area. Big ski jump, the nose of that ski jump pumping right into the central and southern plains Tuesday. There are some differences in the models between the GFS and the European model on timing of when this bowling ball is going to eject over the central and southern plains. But if it ejects right near around peak heating on Tuesday, then I think there's going to be a pretty substantial tornado threat across the southern plains. And then on Wednesday, it looks like that threat lifts off to the north across portions of the Corn Belt. We're going to have to keep an eye on that as well. Possible 2 days of storm chasing out there. The latest on the tornado threat right now over portions of the Mid-South is that this mesocyclone is really weakened, moved off to the west of Highway 127. So that tornado warning that we've been tracking for maybe a couple hours so far this afternoon, that circulation has weakened just to the west of the Grimsley area. Thank you everybody for your super chat contributions. Really appreciate it. I'm going to be out there live streaming the tornado events on Sunday and on Tuesday and Wednesday, live streaming to YouTube and to Facebook. And if it weren't for you supporting these live streams, I wouldn't be able to do these live weather briefings. I wouldn't be able to go live. Our Team Dominator science mission wouldn't be where it is either. So thank you everybody so much for your support. I know we had like 6 million views or something between Facebook and YouTube for the live stream out there. during Hurricane Ida and Nicholas, and definitely driving around as those conditions are evolving, showing people those conditions as they're changing around their locations. Sometimes those are life-saving reports that storm chasers provide, but either way, I'm thankful for your support to make it possible to storm chase out there. So that tornado warning has been allowed to expire. Now we've got this lone tornado warning here in northwestern Alabama that we're watching. Not a lot of rotation with this, mainly a little hailer here that's closing in on Muscle Shoals, Alabama here, Florence area. Quite a beautiful area here, wonderful hills out here, waterways as well across this portion of Alabama. Muscle Shoals off to your west, a pretty tight gradient there on the eastern edge of that reflectivity, showing you that this storm is still pulling in some pretty good inflow. So the good news is that tornado warning in eastern Tennessee has been allowed to expire, but we are going to monitor the environment that some of these storms are moving into as well. And I want to show you some of the forecast models for that event next week as well. That includes Sunday, not next week Sunday, but this Sunday, and also Tuesday and Wednesday. Looks like there's going to be 2 days of severe weather next week with that kicker system. And there's actually 2 systems coming in. The preceding system that it causes severe weather on Sunday, and then another system that comes in behind it that's also interesting. This is a 3-kilometer NAM that did a pretty good job on the convective evolution with these current models. One thing that I should tell you is that the HRRR model did show pretty favorable conditions across northwestern Georgia, northeastern Alabama, and southeastern portions of Tennessee this evening. So that would be like 7, 8, 9, 10 p.m. This evening. We need to keep a close eye on that as well. The tornado threat may not be done to the east of this upper level low. There are some minus 14, minus 15 degrees C temperatures, very cold temperatures in the mid-levels of the atmosphere, over top, decent moisture, dew points in the 60s, and that creates instability that is going to sustain even a little bit after sunset as this low-level jet ramps up. The 3-kilometer NAM and the HRRR are showing that to evolve over the target area. Let's actually see what the latest HRRR shows. We'll look at the 21Z model here, and it shows that at 4Z, and look at that, right between 0 and 1Z, it shows an invigoration of convection across northern Alabama. And this is into northeastern Alabama, back through the Huntsville area. There's already flash flood warnings down here too in that zone, so you're going to get another round of very heavy rain that's being indicated by the HRRR model here into northeastern Alabama, southeastern Tennessee here, training over the same area. And those storms could also have tornado potential as well. The low-level jet's going to intensify here in the northeastern corner of Alabama into southeastern Tennessee through 1Z. And even as you go through about 2Z, you still do have these 30-knot southerly, even south-southeasterly 1-kilometer winds. So it does look like there is an environment that is at least marginally supportive for tornadoes, even back into northeastern Alabama, extending 7, 8, 9 p.m. The storms are probably going to be a little bit elevated, given that you're going to lose that surface heating, the heating of the day, certainly here, but it does look like there's going to be isolated supercell storms. Looking at a sounding, you've got a pretty nice looping hodograph there. Look at that. Not sure if, yep, just to the, over to my head over here, that's that hodograph. It's got a nice curvature to it. Southerly low-level jet in excess of about 30 knots. Skinny cape up there as well. A little bit of an elevated mix layer. So that is definitely supportive of tornadoes. You can see this hook-like feature here. This is looking down on the atmosphere. There's the origin. 1-kilometer wind south-southeasterly at about 30 knots. That's your bread and butter here for that tornado potential. You need a low-level jet of at least 25 to 30 knots to have a really substantial tornado potential. Winds due easterly here, weak at about 10 knots at the surface. And then you get those southwesterlies in the mid and upper portion of the troposphere. 30, 40 knots up there. Sufficient enough to evacuate that precipitation from the updraft and to encourage a far enough right storm motion to squeeze out enough streamwise vorticity here taken in the low levels of the atmosphere. And that's what causes those tornadoes. You can see the little easterly winds here at the surface flipping around to southerly, and then you get those southwesterly mid and upper tropospheric winds increasing to 50 knots there at 300 millibars. So definitely marginally supportive of tornadoes. Very supportive, though, of flash flooding across northeastern Alabama, southeastern Tennessee, into northwestern Georgia as well. 8, 9, 10 p.m. There you can see some storms. Hello? Come in! So there you can see that cluster of supercells, northeastern Alabama into northwestern Georgia. Hints at a little convergent line late that develops, but that's probably not going to materialize there. But still a very favorable environment for, we'll say marginally favorable environment for tornadoes extending through the evening hours down into northeastern Alabama with an invigoration of convection anticipated into northeastern Alabama. So let's watch this pattern evolve coming up next week that's going to cause these tornadoes. We're looking at 500 millibar temperature here. Here you can see what is initially a very positively tilted trough. This is on Saturday night, moving through the four corners. Normally a trough like this would shear out over top this anticyclone here in northern Mexico into Texas. Shear out over top of it, not pulling very much in the way of moisture. But in this case, it turns into a bowling ball of a storm system. Come here, Gizmo. Come here. Come here, Giz. Come on. Come here, guys. Come here. She doesn't want to. But basically more of a bowling ball of a system. Creates quite a bit of diffluence downstream of it. This is Sunday evening here. And this storm system is going to be enough to trigger what looks to be a dry line setup from southern Kansas down through central Oklahoma along that I-35 corridor there. And this is kind of the primer system here. Primes the atmosphere, slides off to the northeast, and then opens the door for a more substantial storm system dropping out of the Pacific Northwest. Could even bring winter conditions out here over portions of the Southwest. But look at this bowling ball of a storm system here dropping through the four corners. This is on Tuesday afternoon. This is likely going to be an outbreak of severe weather here. Likely outbreak of severe weather. Tornado Alley is going to come alive in a big way. Central, southern portions of Tornado Alley downstream of this, ushering in a big pattern shift. Looks like the second season is going to be quite favorable here. And then that bowling ball rockets northeast, almost like a lobe, ushering in another intrusion here of cold air in the mid and upper portions of the troposphere. Really trying to maintain that trough over the western U.S. to maybe even bring more severe weather. This one here on Wednesday could result in big severe weather. Central and eastern Iowa down into Missouri. We'll have to keep a very close eye on timing of that as well. But it does look like a multiple day severe weather event. It does look like the models are trending a little bit east with this vertically stacked upper level low. There's the 500 millibar low, 850 low stacked on top of each other. Big low level jet downstream across central and eastern Iowa into northern Missouri there, even southeastern Minnesota could have blizzard conditions on the backside across the Black Hills. Portions of eastern Wyoming there as well could also get some blizzard conditions there on the cold side of that system. Well, look at that thing. A lot of spin there, cyclonic spin. Multiple layers, multiple scales of the atmosphere, all the way down to the storm scale where it looks like there's going to be tornadoes there in that warm sector. Central and eastern Iowa. Maybe even more than that. Just looking at some general variables here. It's likely going to be more substantial. Maybe in eastern Iowa, Illinois to eastern Missouri type of a setup, but the timing is going to change a lot between Tuesday and Wednesday as that Vortmax rockets off to the northeast. Closed upper level low there over the eastern Dakotas. Ushering in a big pattern change. It looks like the long range is going to be quite active, quite stormy here, with this polar front jet stream dropping to the south. That one lifts up to Canada, really allowing this ridge trough pattern to persist across the western U.S. and an active consolidated jet stream across North America. Definitely looks like the long range Also appears to be signs of a consolidated jet stream. Pretty active pattern in the long range there as well. So I think that the second season is going to come alive in a big way. And thank you for tuning in to this live weather report. Certainly looking at the long range, looks like a consolidated jet stream for the propensity to break up into these big troughs like this. But a lot of times at the boundaries, the transition zones between these pattern regimes, that's when you get chaos happening and fireworks across Tornado Alley. Squeeze play between this bowling ball of an upper level vortex and the anticyclone over the Gulf of Mexico. I thought that during this time period we were either going to be chasing a hurricane along the Gulf Coast or a tornado outbreak in Tornado Alley, and it looks like we're getting the Tornado Alley version. Here's the subsonic sensor. I'm going to be deploying this very sensitive microbarometer as close as I can to a tornado to try to measure any gravity waves that might happen, measure the pressure fall in and around that tornado. That's my plan in terms of a science mission coming up. I also want to mount this anemometer on top of the Dominator 4, so I might be meeting up with Sasha and Critter in the coming days to make that happen. Mark is hard at work on the Gravitron network of gravity wave sensors. He's also working on the Dominator weather stations that are going to be available for sale. DominatorWX.net is where those Dominator weather stations are going to be available. A couple months later than we thought it was going to happen, but these are research grade weather stations, live streaming, badass weather stations that you're definitely going to want to, definitely will be worth the wait. But there you can see that bowling ball ejection. Look at that, over 24 hours what it does. Closes off like a roping out tornado, lifting off to the north of the Canadian prairies, opening up the floodgates for the next system back behind it. But looks like Sunday, severe weather setup with a lead system, dry line setup into central Oklahoma, southern Kansas. Tuesday, looks like another high plains event. And then Wednesday, that ejects off to the northeast. Looks like more of a event there in maybe eastern Iowa over toward Illinois as well. So that's why I made up this graphic for Tuesday. The biggest day looks like Tuesday, but Sunday could certainly be more of a sleeper as well. So we'll have to keep a very close eye on Sunday. Additionally, Sunday is going to be the dry line magic type of a day. Tuesday is going to be a bigger outbreak, it appears. And then Wednesday could also be a severe weather outbreak, central and eastern Iowa, eastern Missouri, maybe even Illinois there. And then I'll be dropping southeast to do some leaf peeping with my mom while keeping a very close eye on this energized, active jet stream, where I do expect there could be a series of troughs and ridges during the sometimes active second season. I actually saw my first ever tornado 1998 during the fall season. October 4 of 1998 was the first tornado that I ever saw back then. So thank you everybody for tuning into my weather reports. I'll be out there in Dominator 4 streaming live for these upcoming events happening Sunday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. And thank you for tuning in to National Geographic Channel Sunday nights, 10 p.m. Eastern, 9 p.m. Central. Storm Rising is our new storm chasing series that is rolling out now. We got the second episode coming up here on Sunday on High Plains Insanity. Windshield shattering hail, big tornadoes, Dominator van, does it roll, does it not roll? And then we got episode 3, Hurricane Laura there in Lake Charles, when we finally roll out the subsonic sensors. Surgeonator is also making an appearance, episode 4 or 5 coming up in Storm Rising. So thank you everybody. Have a great evening. Tornadoes on the horizon, storm chasing about to be happening. Never stop